Hi everyone, let's start. It seems this room has a specific issue for each session, like the previous one. Can you hear? Okay. In the previous session, we had the mice. Now we had these strange colors on the screen. Anyways, there is an internet meme that says that basically the cloud is nothing else but someone else's computer. And this meme is not really true, of course. It's a good joke, but if you take it too seriously, of course, you don't really know what cloud really is with all the provisioned resources, the scalability, and so on. It's just a joke, of course. But I came up with something for the CI for open source is nothing else but somebody else's computer for free. I'm actually wondering if anybody tried to mine Bitcoin, Ethereum, or I don't know what kind of cryptocurrency is the best for this on Travis, for instance, because what happens actually that when you have an open source project, you get computing resources for free. Of course, it won't happen because the sysadmins will monitor what's going on inside the container. No, very likely you won't be able to mine cryptocurrencies on Travis, but that's it. That's the essence, that you get some computing power for free for your open source project. That's it, and you are on the right presentation. Of course, I won't talk about I won't talk about cryptocurrencies, but I will talk about Travis and automated testing. So yes, Travis could be your movie producer and could be many other things as well. Actually, the organizers of the Drupalathon made a very nice schedule. The previous workshop, what took place here, was a very good introduction. But the workshop from Balázs was a high-level overview of all these things. Okay, build all the things. And in this workshop, we will get our hands really dirty with low-level stuff. So that was a very good schedule for the for all these build-related workshops. So yeah, oops. At the previous workshop, Balázs made the point that you can test your project in several different levels. You can write unit tests. You can do it for your Drupal module. You can do it for your JavaScript. You could do it for your Elm application, whatever. You can write higher level tests. You can do screenshots, whatever. This workshop will be about the browser-based testing, when you control the browser, and in this way you test your application. Honestly, when it comes to testing, I guess all of us have some embarrassing projects where nothing is really tested and so on. So we don't have unlimited resources for testing. Okay, how many of you guys have all the projects covered by tests on several levels? Okay, you don't need to raise your hand. And that's the reality, that we have constraints that we need to live with as a developer. But as a developer, you would like to make sure that the things are done correctly. And the browser-based testing, according to my experience, has a lower and lowest entry barrier. I don't know if you remember that, I guess this already exists, still exists, that there is a Firefox plugin for Selenium that you can record a test in the browser. Anybody could do this, like a macro recorder for Word or Excel, I don't know. And that this shows us that the browser-based testing has one of the lowest entry level for all the tests. I can tell you by experience that we do lots of headless Drupal with Elm, and when a new Elm developer joins to the project, where he is not really Elm developer, but just a new developer comes to the project, and it's a headless Drupal, and the issue specifies that he needs to write tests. he would like to do it in a browser-based testing and not the M unit test because he's not really familiar with M, but a browser-based test is easy. So I guess the biggest selling point, according to me, for the browser-based testing, that it's really easy for the developers. And if it's easy for the developers, it will happen. If they don't feel comfortable to write the test, it won't happen. It's really easy, I think. And actually, if you see it from the developer's perspective, it makes a lot of sense because let's say you have a complex business logic that would be ideal for a unit test. But very likely you can do it from the browser, right? Let's say you have a magic formula in the background what computes something. Very likely this value appear in the UI, you can do the input from the browser and so on and so on. So what I saw in many cases, you can replace unit testing with browser-based testing. In the ideal world, you should have both. You could have both, but if you need to choose one, I would vote for the browser-based testing. And that's it. Yeah, and of course there are drawbacks as always. Browser-based testing can be slow. We have a project where alone the test execution itself is like half an hour. Okay, it's an extreme case, but it's slow because it needs to happen real time. You need to wait the response of the server. You need to wait for everything that the Chrome executes the big messy JavaScript on your website and so on. It's slow. And the other thing is that you could imagine that if you have a browser-based test, you can execute it on Firefox, on Chrome, on Internet Explorer. Not really. Your browser-based testing will be very likely dependent on the browser. That's it. So I personally tried a few times to use browser-based testing for cross-browser test, and it won't work. It did not work for me. If it works for you, I would love to hear about that. But yeah, that was my personal experience. And you are in the right room. It's a workshop, so we will do something. We will do some actual work very soon. Oops, not in this direction. That's it. So our first exercise at this workshop, we will have 3 exercises. Most of them are independent, so don't be scared if you can't follow this one. You will have chance for the following ones. This would be to write a browser-based test for something simple. Okay, if you have never written a browser-based test before, you can write a very simple one. Just check that your Drupal.org profile is still online and still accessible to the world, that anybody can check your Drupal.org profile, and that's it. It's not that hard, right? For the ones who had plenty of experience with browser-based testing, you should do something more, of course, in these 20 minutes. You could, for instance, check if you have like a contribution on Drupal.org, a commit or something, an issue in the past months or something. Actually, both tasks are doable. So yeah. But you don't need to start from zero. I have a sample in the repository. So I exit the slides for now. So I have this repository. Oops. Yeah, here. If you did not clone the repository, actually, if you go to the Drupalathon website and you see the schedule, you see all the clone links and so on and so on. But this is the repository. If you go to github.com/AaronNovák/travis video, you can clone the repository if you don't have it on your machine. And there you have a sample VDIO test. Okay, we have the samples VDIO, and WebdriverIO is one of the browser-based testing frameworks. There are many frameworks out there. There is Mink for the same purpose, and I'm pretty sure that there are hundreds of frameworks for the same purpose out there. For this workshop, I chose this one mostly because that's what we use, so that's not that complex reasoning. And actually, it's just Node.js. But if you have never worked with Node.js, don't be scared if you wrote JavaScript in the past, very likely you will be able to write this simple browser-based testing. So that would be, the idea of the workshop would be that, of course, I will talk more about the other exercises and so on and so on. But now, if you clone the repository, you can start to forge it. So, okay, here we have a README. You should read it indeed. You can see how to bootstrap the test. You can do an npm install, by the way. I can show you the README. And then afterwards, you can execute a test. You can already execute the test, what is in the repository, but it does nothing really. It just visits one single website and it exits. So afterwards, you can go ahead and fill your logic into this file. So it's ready to start. You don't need to take care of all the things in the background. You can basically jump start to this one. And that's it. By the way, yeah, any questions related to this, how to start the test and so on? Not yet. Okay. Then I will proceed a little bit and show you how the test is structured. So here we have the specs directory and this example.js. So yeah, it's nothing as just JavaScript. Can you read it? Is the size all right? Okay. So you have a simple structure that you describe a page, that we have an example domain, that with a description, and okay, we say the browser that it should visit this URL. And of course, there is an API documentation of WebdriverI, what I can show it to you. So here you can see that you can click on elements and so on. So if you ever worked with browser-based testing before, this should be familiar. You have plenty of API functions like this, and you can build on this. So yeah, that's it. I will walk through a little bit. If you have questions, how do you proceed with this? And that's it. And in more or less in 20 minutes, we will proceed to the next exercise. Yeah, in the meantime, I will show a few things, so you won't see the same thing for 20 minutes for sure. And then we will move it to the next one. By the way, just in the meantime, a little story that why we have this this 20 minutes in the brackets. So at Gizra, we really like to put a time box in every little single issue. So let's say this issue to write a WebdriverI task has a 20 minutes time box. It's not a really generous time box. It's a challenging time box if you have never worked with WebdriverI before. But we feel really, really beneficial to put a time box on really everything. It helps you to understand that you are off the track and you either browse YouTube or you either completely messed up the things and you won't be able to finish the things efficiently. So yes, 20 minutes for this, and I will work around, and if you are stuck or if you don't have internet connection or anything, please ping me to make sure that you can play at least a little bit with this stuff. Oh, and maybe I can also show the, oops. So yeah, this is the URL for the repository itself if you don't have it. We need to proceed because the time is running, and we have one more exercise. So actually, I will give out one bottle, and indeed, the first one will raise his hand. So yeah, the bottle should come here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I saw some more videos on the screen, so I'm really happy that you could follow. Yeah, I'm sorry that the Mac users had a bit more difficulty than expected. But for the next one, okay, there is one more exercise, one more battle, and it's completely environment independent. So that's the good news. But it's a hard one. That's a hard one. Okay, let's proceed. Yeah. A word, I will tell you a word on Travis and we can jump to the next exercise. You had a very good overview in the previous workshop by Balázs about all the continuous integration tools and so on and so on. My point is that with this way, you basically outsource all the DevOps needs to the cloud, okay, to Travis, to Circle CI, whatever, Balázs told it, all the same, and it's indeed all the same. The essence is that you have computing power for free. You can use your Zalenium container, you can do anything you want inside that virtualized environment. And that's what we want. We want to execute our tests in the cloud, and we don't need to take care for the environment. We don't really need to take care of anything, just to write our tests. And the good thing is that when your project is open source, it's completely free. Of course, it depends on the company policy and so on. But by the way, at Gizra, we have tons of open source projects on GitHub. And basically, nobody cares, by the way, if you go here, OK, Gizra, and repositories. Just 1 second. Repositories. We have the company website on Gizra. Does it hurt anybody? Not really. We have the company site online, open source. It means that Travis will test it for free and so on. So if you make your client project open source, if you can persuade your client, then you have continuous integration for free. But OK, the pricing is not the most important, of course. It could make sense also to pay for a good solution, but just for the fun part. So yeah, that's it. All you need to work with Travis, to have a little shell scripting skills and the basics understanding of writing a YAML file. And if you don't have it, you are lost in the Drupal world too. So actually the entry level for Travis is also not so high. For this exercise, I have a separate repository. If you go to the samples directory, you will see that there is a directory Travis, what asks you to clone another repository. So normally there is this examples Travis repository. What will be the base of your next exercise? That's it. And the next exercise would be for the one who did not really work with these before, just to clone your clone the sample repository, these examples, Travis, under your GitHub account and play a little bit, modify something in the test, or write a new test for this examples module on Drupal.org. And actually, if you are a module maintainer especially, I suggest you to clone your module to GitHub, enable Travis integration for it, and write a simple browser-based test for your Drupal module. In the repository, what I created for this workshop, you have everything you need. So you don't need to write any shell scripts. You only need to write WebdriverI test. So yeah, let's start, because we barely have half an hour from this workshop. So let's say the time box started. So let's keep going, and that's it. The battle will go to somebody who will have a GitHub repository, and Travis executes a WebdriverI test, and that's it. Let's say that should be the goal, and if you have even more, that's even better. So I will show you the sample. That's it. We have it in the samples, and we have an examples Travis repository, and here, I don't know, I guess many of you know examples module. This is just a collection of API usage best practices, and it teaches you how to develop Drupal module. Basically, this is for the version 8, so it's for Drupal 8. And we have Travis integration for this repository. So you can use it as a basis. If you have your own module and create a GitHub repository for it, you can basically copy-paste the travis.yml, these CI scripts, and you have WebdriverI test for your Drupal module. And of course, the big takeaway is not that it's cool to record videos. The takeaway is that you can do really anything you want with your module. Drupal.org can execute simple tests, and that's all. But if you need more, and for instance, your module or your website is really front-end application, for instance, browser-based tests could be awesome, and so on and so on. The takeaway is that you have total freedom. You have a virtual environment, you can record videos, you can do whatever you want. So that's it, and I will walk around, I will guide you, and I will show you some fun things from our Travis integration that we use for more or less every project. In the meantime, on the screen, if you would like to just see some fun and you don't follow the things. So that's it. Good luck, and yeah, ping me if you stuck or something. So for those who don't really actively work on a new repository on GitHub and don't really in the game for another battle, I can tell you a little bit the Travis integration that we do typically. We use WebdriverI test, but it's not a surprise for you at this point of the workshop. But the good thing is that it's not just about WebdriverI. If you have a contributed module on Drupal.org, or if you have a client website, hopefully you would like to enforce the coding standard. You try to do that. You are human, you will do some mistakes, and continuous integration should help you. Balázs also showed this example that Composer should help you, but in the very end, when you push the code to the repository, it should be checked. It should be a failure when you don't respect the coding standard. And Travis can help you with this. So when we push code to Travis, the WebdriverI test will be executed, but we will check automatically the coding standard of Drupal. Okay, it's in 2 shots, but that's it. It's the coding standard via the PHP sniffer. We check if the shell scripts, I have found a shell script linter lesson recently, and it's introduced in the repository. So if you have a shell script in the repository, we will check if the shell script is sane. Let's say it doesn't have obvious problems. And we do the unit tests, and we do some kind of integration test that we install the whole site, if the whole process is doable or not. And we execute simple tests, but not in this repository. The good thing is that Travis will execute this all in parallel if you do it correctly. So you can basically have 5 virtual environments running in parallel. One of them will execute your WebdriverI test. One of them will check the coding standard. One of them will run the unit tests. One of them will check the shell scripts, and so on and so on. So if you do it correctly, it will be highly parallel. The only drawback is, of course, WebdriverI will be the slowest component with the browser-based testing. In the end, it won't be super fast, but that's it. So with Travis, you can have a build matrix with lots of different elements. And if one day you decide that you would like to support your contributed module on Drupal.org with some new other PHP version, you can simply specify it in the travis.yml file that you would like some more PHP versions, and you are good to go. Travis will then execute, for instance, the WebdriverI test twice or 3 times, with one PHP version, with the other PHP version, and so on. Travis does it for you automatically with just configuring the YAML file. And the other good thing is that let's say you have your video in the Travis environment, but then that's it, or it's not a big deal. The big deal is that Travis, even for the public open source repositories, allows you to encrypt artifacts for your tests. So you are able to encrypt, for instance, a public key. You are able to encrypt a Google Drive credential or anything. So in the end, when your test is finished and, for instance, your test failed, you are able to upload to Google Drive, to your development server, or to any place, your video, your database dump, whatever. In the past months that we used this video feature actively at Gizra, that basically every WebdriverIO test which failed has a video recording, we realized that it's not super helpful. If you are a developer and you need to fix a test, a video is not super helpful. Maybe it's funny because you are in a workshop that advertises the video recording, but okay, we realize it, and why I should share it with you, not? The thing is, with all what you learned, for instance, you are able to upload the database of the failed test, and we realize that the database of the failed test is often more helpful. But if you have total freedom inside Travis, you have your shell scripts, you have everything. Of course, if one day the video seems to be nice, you implement the feature. The other day, you can replace it, or you can extend it by also having the database dump. Or if you prefer screenshots, you record screenshots and you expose it. So I will show you in the end how we integrated it in our development. Oops, it's the Chrome. In our development process. So we have the mstarter repository. Okay, and we have pull requests. And let's say if we have a failing pull request, let me see. No, it's too early. Okay, closed. All right, let me, okay. Maybe this one will be good. No, not this one. I'm going to find a pull request where it's visible how Travis helps us. No, not this one. Sorry. So I enlarge it a little bit. Just 1 second. Oops. Oh, it's exhausted, I think. I can do something more. Thank you. Thank you. So here you can see that while we implemented this video recording feature on this project template, we have several commits, of course. We try to get the things done. And then when we have a failed test, there is this Gizra robot user who commented that the test failed, and this is the video of the failed test. And so we have this robot. After a failed Travis execution, it posts a comment into the pull request at GitHub. So we receive an email notification, okay, the test failed. Okay, we have it from Travis, so at Travis, when your build fails, you get an email. But here you also immediately have the video recording of your test right in GitHub, and you can click on the video and you can see what's going on with the test. So this is kind of a self-contained process. It starts from GitHub, you push the code into GitHub, Travis tests it, it executes a WebdriverI test, and when if it fails, you have a comment straight in your GitHub repository saying that the test failed and okay, here is the video. And if you argue that the video is indeed not the most helpful way to figure out why the test failed, you can do whatever you want, upload the database image and so on and so on. And indeed, really the core is that you are able to encrypt anything, passwords, SSH keys, whatever, let Travis use it. So even if you have an open source module, the whole repository is accessible by anyone, it's still fine because Travis encrypts it for you and you are able to use it during your build process. So that's it. I really hope that I can give out this one to somebody because, you know, if you clone the repository and let Travis run on your GitHub repository, then you have it. But yeah, that's it. We are running out of time, it seems. No, not really out, but we are approaching to the end. By the way, any questions during for the work that you are doing right now? Not really. Sorry. GitLab. Well, everything what I explained is not really Travis specific. If you have a continuous integration platform that Balázs explained that you have many choices, you can choose whatever you want. The thing is that it's really the same. You have a virtualized environment. I did not have an extensive experience with the other platforms. I bet really the core difference is that how you specify the build environment, like this travis.yml file. I guess the syntax is different, but in the end, all you need is a shell script and a set of tests that you need to execute. I'm not sure about the encryption possibilities. If you have a self-hosted GitLab, the encryption is not really a big question, and that's it. It's really applicable to any kind of continuous integration out there. So that's it. Good luck for the rest. By the way, I don't want to drink this one myself, so if you manage to do it during the rest of the day, please reach me out and I'm happy to give it out. So I loved that you were engaged in the workflow and you managed to record videos and so on. So the key takeaway that if you use some kind of continuous integration tool for your open source project or for your client project, you have total freedom of what you can do with your testing processes. So yeah, that's it. And I fingers crossed that somebody will give that.